hey, so let's recap day 1 and 2 of Nevada versus Duane Keefe D Davis for the Tupac murder. This is a cold case that they opened back up, and we're trying to get to this justice 30 years later. Now listen, the witnesses, of course, they're going to be excused from the courtroom, in and out of the courtroom, do the breaks and lunch and all that. They're ordered not to view or talk about or look at any coverage online about the case. Now, Keefe D's menacing looks have been disturbing. He's looking at the jury. He's looking at witnesses. He's looking at people in the courtroom. It's terrifying to me. The opening statement came from prosecution on day 1, where prosecution said at the start that Davis didn't pull the trigger, yet he is clearly, and I'm paraphrasing, the mastermind. Prosecutor pointed out that Suge Knight grew up and around and hired security from often and mingled with Keefe D's rival gang. Now, Zip, a New York connection of Keefe D's, they did talk about that in opening statements, and it connects Keefe D with Bad Boy Records. Prior to September 7, 1996, a death row chain was lost during some fight that happened between Orlando Baby Lane Davis, who is the nephew of Keefe D. Their gang and rival gang members had this deal, and the chain was taken. So Tupac, Mob Pyro members, and Suge Knight fight Orlando over that missing chain at the after the Mike Tyson fight, right at the MGM. They play a call during the opening statement between Zip and Keefe D. Now, Zip, the New York Connect, in the van, allegedly hands the piece to Keefe D. They all head to Club 662 to wait for Tupac as planned. Prosecution also says it included Keefe D's recorded account of what happened before he handed the piece to nephew. Says Suge looked directly at him, and then he also said he could tell how the Cadillac he was in when he pulled up to Pac and Suge's car. There is a look of despair on Keefe D's attorney's face as all this is coming out in the opening statement. Maybe it's just per chance, I don't know. But it is visible during the playing of those recordings. Maybe he didn't know, I don't know. 24 hours after the shooting, Cadillac was back in Compton, and then a major gang war followed over multiple days after. It's kind of hilarious as hell that the prosecution says in the opening, and I'm going to paraphrase that. He said, in that lifestyle, silence is golden to survive. And then he went on to say, but the one person in that lifestyle who could not remain silent from that lifestyle was Duane Keefe D Davis. As he goes on to say, from 1998 to 2023, Keefe was constantly giving statements and publicly talking on podcasts about what happened the night that Tupac was taken down. Odd, right? Now, 2008 task force was not investigating Tupac's murder when they questioned Keefe D. However, they were actually investigating Biggie Smalls' heartbreaking takedown and demise, okay? So that happened 6 months after Tupac's heartbreaking demise also. So they put 2 and 2 together, basically using Keefe D. Biggie was at a party that Keefe D was also at, which prompted the task force to look at Keefe D. Undercover tactics were used to do so. And child, believe me, he was running his mouth. Child, this called the case opening the prosecution. They opened it back up. They even point out that in 2009, Davis flew to New York for them to implicate Zip Martin, the associate of Bad Boy Records. And basically, he went to try to implicate him, Zip, in the tragic demise of Tupac Shakur. But look, Zip couldn't talk to Keefe D at that time because he was, dying of cancer. So he clearly didn't have time to chat with Keefe about good old time days of gangbanging, right? So in 2009, the Vegas PD, they talked to Keefe D Davis. Davis says again that he was in the car, he was mad about Orlando, and that he gave the piece to nephew that took down Pac. 2011, Greg Kading writes a book leading that 2008 task force, leaves the law, does this tell-all book about Biggie and Pac. Then they talk about in 2017 how Keefe D bragged to BET. He's the only one alive that knows what happened to Tupac. In 2019, Keefe D releases his tell-all Compton Street Legend, talking again. And you all know by now that the judge has said this book will be used during the trial. Quote from the book that I thought I would point out. Keefe says, didn't have any business putting hands on my nephew, Baby Lane. Period. I guess he's talking about Pac and Suge. Them jumping on my nephew gave us the ultimate green light to do something to their ass. That's what he says in the book. He goes on to write, Tupac should Tupac chose the wrong gang to play with and the wrong niggas to play with. With Suge and them should have done a better job of protecting that dude. Guess he talking about the security that was lax, as you will see up to day 2 on Tupac that night. Now, child, look, that's enough to give dude life for sure. But due process will tell us how this trial will come out. And sure to come to stand is Suge Knight. But definitely I am thinking that Diddy, Bad Boy, will be called as well after hearing this opening on day 1. That's just my point of view. Public interviews follow as Keefe D clearly continues to implicate his key role in Tupac's demise in 1996. Public admissions mirror his private ones and what prosecution says in the opening statement. Now, from podcasts to private talks with his son, clips are played for the jury. 2 witnesses at start of trial drop new details. Suge, Pac were pulled over, and then there's this Ingrid that was in the car with the 3 other friends. They go to the fight, they miss the fight, they're driving on the Vegas Strip, they're following Suge. She says on a podcast that she saw them being pulled over, and then she did says during the trial testimony that she saw the attack or was around for the attack and heard the shots, right? On day 2, witnesses that I think stand out are James McDonald for sure and Reggie Wright. Those are interviews that you must go see for yourself because, baby, a lot came out. He revealed a great deal during this day 2 testimony. Also, Reggie Wright revealed a great deal. He came dropping bombshell at the bombshell about Suge's club, who was really in charge, Keepe's lifestyle prior to dealing, and clear knowledge of long-standing beef between Puff and Suge. I know Suge says that he will not testify, but honestly, unless he has immunity on this, they call the Suge Knight to the stand. They definitely are bringing Suge Knight to the stand. Maybe have to subpoena him like they did James, right? The word is also that Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard, is on the witness list, not confirmed, but the word is out that he is. Can't help but wonder again, if that's the case, are they going to bring Sean P. Diddy Puffy Combs to the stand in this long, drawn out, what the heck, so many things being dropped and things that we had no idea happened in this trial? Will they be bringing Sean P. Diddy Combs to the stand as well? What do you guys think? Drop your comments. What do you guys think about the trial? Drop your comments below.